I want to ask, you're not for them teaching this transgender stuff in the schools, right?
Why? I think it's a lie from the pit of hell. Why would I be for that?
Yeah.
It's
Who,
absolute nonsense. Yeah.
if the parents, if the mothers and fathers or fathers and mothers love their children and they would not send their children to those schools, would the school affect their children?
It's not just the schools, it's happening in schools. But I think a big problem that people don't realize, because I'll tell you what, I know a lot of homeschool kids who've gotten sucked into this gender stuff.
Right.
It's the internet. You keep your kids off the internet. No 12-year-old needs a smartphone. You can't send your kid into their room with a phone for hours on end and expect bad things not to happen. So it's not just the schools, it's also what your kids are being exposed to. And, my kids are in public school. I can't afford to send them to Christian school, but we talk a lot and they're in my ear all the time. Mom, they're doing this at school. And then I call the principal and we have a talk, and my kids are getting equipped to fight it. And God's covering them in the meantime.
But if the mothers love their children and wasn't on an ego trip trying to go to work and act like a man, but stay home and raise the man's children, educate the children, and not put them out there in the schools or in these places where they're teaching this stuff. If the mothers love their children, wouldn't they stay home and watch over the man's children for him?
I hate that. It's so condescending. No, it's not that easy. I live in a double wide. My house is falling apart. My husband works 50, 60 hours a week to provide for us, and it's still not enough. I have to work. I can't just stay home. If I want my children to eat, I have to work.
Well,
so
why not
we
let
do
your
the best we can.
Why not let your husband do that? And
He
you
is,
watch
but it's
over.
still not enough.
Why not cut back for the children?
Cut back on what?
On whatever you need to cut back and make the
We got
sacrifice
nothing to cut back
for
on.
the children.
We don't live high off the hog.
I'm sorry?
We don't have anything to cut back on. We spend nothing. I don't get my hair done.
So your husband working all those hours and not making enough money?
Yeah.
Tell me get another job then. Maybe
that's half of the world today.
Well, tell me work 80 hours. And you're right about that. High taxes and economy is bad. I do agree with that. But I want to know if mothers love the man's children and they would come back to order and watch over his children, because the responsibility of the children belongs to the father and the mother, no one else. They're not our children. Your children are your children, my children are my children, they're not our children. And God said that to the father and the mother, raise your children up in the right way to go. When they go out into the world, they're not easily tempted by the devil. But I noticed that the mothers are so selfish, they're unwilling, because they want to be equal to men. They're unwilling to stay home. No. They're unwilling to stay home and watch over the man's children.
That's not true.
Well, why are they doing it?
You are not fair to women.
Why
don't you stay home then?
I'm sorry?
You don't call men selfish for it's so unfair. Now, let's say my husband goes to work for 80 hours a week.
Right.
That's just making me a single mom again. We would never see him. My kids would never have any time with their dad. He couldn't teach them anything. He'd be so tired. He'd be burned out.
But you don't know that. You
assume it. My kids are healthy children. My kids know the Lord. My kids know how to fight evil. My kids know how to stand back or stand up for what's true. And they make a difference. And there are lights where they are. My kids are fine.
But don't you see...
It would not be okay if they never saw their dad.
But do you see the hypocrisy and the ego hypocrisy in these women? They out there act like they fighting for gender rights and all that crap, while they're still using the schools as a daycare center so that they can go out and work and pretend to be equal to men. It's all ego.
It's not all ego. You're putting that on people who are trying really hard to survive, and that's not fair.
Why is that? But they don't believe that God will help them if they did the right thing rather than go out and try to be equal to a man. They don't trust that God would take care of them.
Your premise is so flawed. You just assume that the reason that women are working is our egos, when half the time that we women are working, it's because we have to put food in our babies' mouths. So don't put that on women.
I understand those women that are not married, they have to go work, but married women are selfish. It's all about the ego. Because
No.
if they believed in God and they had a husband, they would know that God would take care of them through the husband. But they're on ego trips, so they sacrifice the
What
children.
about my husband?
What about him?
What are you going to do for my family?
What do you mean?
Well, apparently I have an ego trip because I have a job.
I didn't
So
say you had an ego trip.
Well, my husband's but I'm working
So
and my kids are in public school.
you don't trust that God would take care of you and your family through your husband?
We do trust. We tithe. But I got holes in my kitchen floor right now, and that's with 2 people working.
So you had those holes before your husband married you?
Yeah, because we are not wealthy people.
So why'd you marry a man that can't take care of you?
Don't insult my husband or we're going to be done talking.
No, that was a question.
He can take care of me.
But then
we take care of each other.
You said you had a hole in your floor before you married him. You got a hole in your floor now. It doesn't sound like he's doing a very good job.
Okay, we're done.
No,
it's been real.
I got to put you on the hot seat.
No, you don't get to insult your guests. You've insulted me in every way.
How's that?
You've told me that women are stupid. Like we're weak. We're not ever supposed to leave.
In comparison,
we're selfish if we're working. It's our fault if our you've insulted my husband, who is one of the most godly men I've ever met.
No, I didn't insult.
There's only so much insulting that I'm willing to do. You need to be respectful of your guests and our time.
No, I'm asking
I've done a lot of good things for the world.
I'm asking you, why did you marry a man that could not take care of you?
He is a good man, and he is taking care of us. And I would rather have a hole in my floor than a man who treats me the way that you treat women.
Well, I'm just asking biblical questions.
No, that's not a biblical question.
But
that's not.
But
you've been very rude.
How have I been rude? I've just been asking questions. You and I are communicating.
Okay, but you're insulting my husband, who is a good man, who does not deserve me. He works his butt off to take care of us, and life is hard and things are expensive. I have a child who needs 4 different medications every month just to keep him alive. So we have expenses that you don't know about, and guess what? My husband's paying for those. And that's not even.
When you say he is a good man, what make him good?
He loves the Lord. He treats us well. He works hard. Every dime he makes goes to taking care of us.
Amazing.
And he has good character. He has good moral fiber. I mean, if I have to explain to you why that's a good man, and he loves the Lord, and he's leading, and he's working as hard as he can to provide for us, if I have to explain to you why that's a good man, I don't know what to do, but I am not going to sit here and listen to you insult him. I'm not going to do that. I have too much respect for my husband to do that.
But I don't know how that is, and I'm black and slow, so I could be wrong.
You're not slow, and being black has nothing to do with it.
I just don't understand, why would a woman marry a man who can't take care of her, especially with children. I understand if they didn't have any children together. So is he the father of your children?
He's the father of one of my children.
And so I can understand if the woman didn't have children, she can go to work, right? But why would a woman marry a man and they have children together and still would go to work? What's the purpose? Because the whole purpose of getting married is to have babies. If you didn't want to have babies, there's no reason to get married.
I'm 40 years old. There's no reason to get married if you don't want babies.
Right.
What about love? What about, I wanted a father for my kids. I was a single mom.
Well,
what about that?
How about the father that they already have that made the babies?
Like the abusive one who broke a door over my head and called me a C word every time I didn't do something he wanted? No, thank you.
Oh, I wanted to ask you that. I'm just glad you brought that up. Why are women so abusive today? I noticed that women.
I just told you that I got a door broken over my head, and you asked me why women are so abusive.
What were you doing that made him do that?
I'm done. I gotta end this.
No. I want to know, what were you doing that brought that kind of anger out of him? Because he didn't just walk in the house, honey, I'm gonna break the door off and break your head. What were you doing that brought that out of him? What were you doing wrong?
You need Jesus, friend.
What do you mean?
I gotta end this. I wish you well. I pray you well, but I gotta be done.
Well, let's do the hot seat before you go.
The hot seat?
Yeah.
You just told me that it's my fault that a man broke a door over my
No,
head.
that was a question.
I didn't do anything
So
to
you
deserve
just
that.
sit around being nice. You weren't being difficult on anything.
So if I just shut my mouth and look pretty, then everything will be fine. And if I just look like a pretty little doll that doesn't have any ideas, it doesn't mind that he's off cheating, if I just stay sweet, then I won't get hit and my marriage will be fine, right? Is that what you're telling me?
So what were you doing that caused him to do that brought that kind of anger out of him?
I told him that it wasn't okay that he was cheating on me.
So you were harassing him?
Okay, we're done. I'm done.
No, I'm asking, were you
No.
harassing him? Or did you say
no, we're done. Bye.
Don't go.
I can't put up with this. This is the most misogynistic interview I've ever had. And I understand that people like this. It's like comedy gold. It's like watching the Jerry Springer show. I didn't sign up for this. I thought
But
that
I'm
I was
asking you Christian question. I'm not.
No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're being a fool. Like you're being a misogynist and you're being a fool. And I really wish you well. I do. But like, I don't want to be making you rich off of making women uncomfortable and treating them poorly. You're treating me poorly.
But if
you
women
never ask an abuse survivor what she did to deserve it. That is victim blaming, and that's wrong.
But they do.
My husband had an infidelity problem because he had a porn addiction. That's his problem, and I am allowed to say no. And shame on any man who asks the questions that you are asking me right now. It is wrong, and nobody should ever put up with it.
Are you saying you were all innocent?
This is a cluster F. This is the worst interview I've ever had.
Are you saying that you were all innocent and this guy just decided to beat you? You told Hobbo to beat me. So you were just innocent and he just beat you. You were doing nothing wrong.
I must have deserved it. I must have mouthed off.
You were doing nothing wrong.
No, I guess I just deserved to be cheated on.
You were doing nothing wrong.
I was doing nothing. Yep, I was just doing everything wrong. I just wasn't cooking him dinner well enough or something. Or I didn't wear a dress enough. Or I didn't do my makeup right. Or something that set him off.
So you're literally trying to tell me you were just an innocent woman tiptoeing through the tulips and this man beat you?
I told you what happened. I confronted him for his infidelity.
Amazing. Did you do you have anger?
Do you have anger?
No. How about you?
Do you think it's okay to be angry about injustice?
There's never, ever, 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 but never, ever, 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 never a reason to be angry. Anyone that has anger is of their father, the devil.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. It's not of God.
You need to go back to seminary or something. The Bible you understand is not the one that God is wanting you to.
God said that anyone that has anger is a murderer.
That's not true.
And he said to never trust an angry person.
No, it says anybody who has hatred in his heart is a murderer.
Hatred is anger.
It says in your anger, do not sin.
Hatred
because
is
he knows
anger.
That you will be angry. He didn't call anger the sin. He said in your anger, do not sin.
He said anyone who has anger is a murderer.
Nope.
So let me do this. I got to heat this up. I want to put you on the hot seat, and I need you to answer these questions as quickly as possible. Okay?
Okay, but if honestly, if it goes too much more into the insult territory where you're like,
see, I told you women.
I'm not going to answer them.
I told you women are emotional and easily upset and insult.
No,
because
I just don't have a lot of patience.
A man would never be upset about questions. He would just deal with it. But women because they live in their imagination and they are emotional, which is of the devil, they are easily provoked.
I hope you don't have a wife.
Isn't that true, though?
Do you have a wife?
Isn't that true?
Do you have a wife?
No, I've been engaged twice, but never married.
Oh, well, it sounds like they dodged the bullet.
No, they couldn't handle it. You know how women are so controlling? I would not allow them to control me. Women love to control.
No, do they?
And I wouldn't allow a woman to control me.